We'll introduce closures and we'll show you examples that demonstrate how closures are used. Let's start with a simple example. In the same scope, we'll define a variable and a function. In the body of the function, we'll access the variable outer value that is external to the function, and we'll test whether we can see the variable from inside the function. Finally, we'll call the function. And really, that's it. By accessing a variable external to the body of the function, you have created a closure. You've likely written code such as this hundreds of times without realizing that you were creating closures. This may seem rather intuitive and simple until you remember that a created function can be called at any later time. Let's take a look at another example that starts similarly. We have a global outer value, a function, and a call to that function. But within the function, we'll also define a variable and a function that accesses both variables. Next, through a global variable, we'll expose the inner function so that we can invoke it outside of the outer function. Now the situation is a bit tricky. We're executing the inner function after the outer function has already returned, via the trick of copying the function reference to a global variable, later. This is what closures are all about. They enable functions to manipulate external variables that are in scope when the function is created. When we create the inner function inside of the outer function, we also create a closure that encompasses all variables that are currently in scope. In this case, when the inner function is created, the scope includes global variables outer value and later, as well as the local variable inner value and the function outer function. In essence, closures create a safety bubble containing the function and the variables that are in scope at the point the function is created, so the function has all it will need to execute. The safety bubble, the closure, exists as long as the function itself does. This also means that there is a cost to storing and referencing information via closures. That is, each function that accesses information via a closure has a ball and chain attached to it, carrying this information around.